This is the Glatt Properties Podcast. We're doing horror stories for the month of October. I can't speak. I'm tripping over my words already. If you're still listening, good on you. So today's episode, what we are going to do is we are going to actually talk as tenants because we have all been tenants and the rent is due every day. So this is something that I had to experience as a tenant, and I actually had a tenant experience this, not with me, but with the previous landlord. And this is not a fun topic of discussion, but it is what it is. This is taking your landlord to court, okay? Now, I was a tenant, and I had a real estate business. I was a realtor, obviously, and I had a property management business. I also had... I was dealing with an attorney on a different thing, so I had some legal counsel that I could call up for free. But this one is going to be taking your landlord to court. And there's a lot of landlords out there that will charge tenants crazy stuff when they leave, and it's on the tenants to basically pay it, and then they take it out of the security deposit and everybody moves on. So a lot of the times tenants believe that they don't have any legal rights at the end of a lease, which is not true. I would not have known this unless I was a real estate agent, because my previous landlord, he tried to steal from us. That was a big no-go. And I wasn't going to show up at his house. I was just going to show up in court, and he's going to pay me because I know how the system works. So when you leave a property, you have what is called a final walkthrough. Most of the time you have a final walkthrough. If you still live with mommy and daddy, you're going to experience this unless you're lucky enough to go right into buying your own home, which, God bless you, that's fantastic. So in the final walkthrough, you walk through the house, you check it out. The landlord usually says, oh, this is broken, this is broken, this is broken, whatever. You can avoid all this by taking photos the first day you move in on the walkthrough, taking photos of everything. Okay? Now, the landlord in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has 30 days to return the security deposit to you. So you're not going to get it right away. And it is what it is. A lot of tenants think that they'll sit there and argue and they'll say, I want it now. Don't be what's the word I'm looking for? Don't be uneducated, okay? Take it for what it is and move along. Now, I believe it was in 1952, a lot of these landlord-tenant laws were written down or figured out between in terms of the civil courts between tenants and landlords. But you can fact check me on that one. So in that time, the landlord has to make repairs. The landlord, and if you're listening as a future landlord, you should know this, or you should at least prepare for this. You need to write down and take photos of everything that is going on, everything that needs to be replaced, repaired, blah, 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 blah. So, what did our landlord do? Or our old landlord do? Well, our old landlord didn't listen to us. We made it very clear to him that we are property managers and we have a real estate business. We know the law. You're not going to get one over on us. You can always be... You can never be too cautious, but you can always be too arrogant. He didn't want to listen to us. Good. So he ends up going in there. He breaks a toilet seat and says that we broke it or whatever. I guess he wanted to replace it and said whatever. Now, he said the toilet seat replacement cost $65. I'm a property manager. It doesn't cost $65. There was a couple other things, some staining. He tried to get us on a window screen or something like that. And otherwise, dirty carpets. But little did he know that we keep it, we run a tight ship over here. And it is what it is. So he hits us with all this BS. I don't agree with it. And I already notify him about some specific things. So in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, if you live at a property for 2 years and you are renting it and your landlord has taken more than 1 month's rent as a security deposit, they have to return you everything in excess of 1 month. So if you're renting a place out for $1,000, in order to rent the place out, the landlord says he's going to charge you 2 months security. He's going to hold your 2 months security for, I believe, 2 years. And then after that 2 years, he has to return that extra $1,000, period. That's the law. That's non-negotiable. Our landlord didn't do that. We just held that in our back pocket as a just in case, okay? And then so he started tacking on charges and X, Y, and Z and blah, 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 blah. Well, we broke it down for him very, very plainly in English, and always email your landlord if you're a tenant. Always email the landlord, put it in writing, okay? And turns out 30 days came by after we exfilled from left the property, and he didn't pay us the money. So at this point in time, as a tenant is legally allowed to ask for double the security deposit. So if your security deposit is $1,000, you're allowed to ask the courts for $2,000 from the landlord because they failed to fulfill their legal and I guess responsible obligation. Because it's always assumed in the court system, and it's unwritten, but it's assumed, so don't be offended, but it is what it is, that the landlord has more responsibility than the tenant. They're a more responsible person than the tenant. Not always the case, but generally speaking, yes. So we took him to court. We sued his ass for everything that we could. We won because I'm relentless. And he sent us the check. He tried to do all this, that, and the other thing. So what did we learn from it? Well, we learned from the situation that it costs $190 to take your landlord to court, and it's probably less wherever you live, in whatever county you live in. If you take your landlord to court, you're gonna win. I actually had this guy crying in court. I'm not even joking. I wish I could have gotten this on video. I had this dude. This dude was crying in court. I'm not gonna say his name. I'm not gonna say anything or whatever. It's one of those things where this dude bawled to the judge. The judge was a female. And I almost wanted to be like, this is a grown-ass woman. She was probably she was over 40 years old. She was a grown-ass woman. She had children and stuff. She was pretty seasoned in the art of law. And she's looking at this guy crying, who's a landlord property manager. And on the other side of the room is a landlord property manager as well, and a real estate agent. So it was a funny situation. I'm so glad that we were able to take him to court and win, because bad landlords like that deserve to be sued. And I can only imagine how much money he's taken from other tenants and what other properties that they have that he's taken money from them. But I'm almost positive that his business is leaving the county and going elsewhere because he's not really welcome anymore because he's known by the courts. So that was an awesome ending to a horrible situation. And of course, if you find yourself in that situation, rule number 1, don't listen to what any of these dumb people say to you about not taking him to court. Take it and leave. No. Stand up for yourself. There's a lot of people that told us, don't go to court. But we're sitting there looking at them like, we know the law. High speed, we have to follow the same law that he has to follow. Don't listen to anybody. Sorry, my stomach is rumbling. You might have heard that. It's about 12 o'clock. Don't listen to anybody. Listen to Uncle Bruce. Uncle Bruce says, take your foot and put it right through his face. Legally. Using the legal system, of course. I would never advise anybody to assault anybody ever. That's not something that you should do. But you should take him to court, make him pay you back for the court fees, make him pay you back your money, X, Y, and Z. Now, I did have this happen to a tenant. We acquired a property. Well, we didn't. I acquired the contract for the property management. My client acquired the property. We began managing it. We had originally believed that the tenant was going to buy a home a couple months after the property was acquired by the client, and they were going to move out and move on. And we were going to change the rent. We were going to do some stuff, and boom, boom, boom. I was going to list it for rent, X, Y, and Z. So what I didn't do was I didn't collect the security deposit, thinking that the previous owner was going to return the security deposit to the tenant, like a responsible individual. Okay? Now, he didn't. And this guy was a lawyer. He is a lawyer. His family builds developments, according to him. He has a law office. His family has a real estate brokerage. He did not return the money. It was a joking $1,700 security deposit to a tenant that paid on time for 3 years. This guy was so cheap, he didn't return it. And he's a lawyer as well. I can't make this up. I can't make this up. Truth is crazier than fiction. So this freaking guy had the tenant, who turned out to be our tenant for us for almost a year. Tremendous tenant, fantastic morals, ex-Marine, served his country valiantly, fantastic guy, great to talk to, always had a positive attitude, never had any issues. The guy ended up doing about $500 worth of work on the property and didn't even tell me. He just up and did it. And I was like, oh my God, what the heck? Ended up telling the seller reimbursed him a little bit extra, as a thank you present. This guy was fantastic. This guy was the best tenant. Oh my God, I was so upset that he went out and bought a home. God damn him for wanting to better himself, because man, he was fantastic. He was tremendous. I still stay in touch with him. I text him every now and then, see what's going on. But the guy ended up stealing the money. The tenant had to show up at that office 3 times. The lawyer bounced a friggin' check. He wrote him a check and it bounced. Oh my God. I unfortunately, if my memory serves me correct, the situation that we had happened 3 months after he finally got his security deposit back. It's unfortunate because I would have loved to break it down for him and to have my tenant, we'll call him Jay, take the previous landlord, we'll call him, I don't even know what the hell his first letter in his name was. But his last name is B. Say B. And I would love to have him I would love to have the tenant take the lawyer to court and have the judge just chew him out. And I would show up. I would just sit there in the back and just listen to that ass chewing. Because that would have been good. But man, guys, if you're listening to this, do not be the landlord that holds out on the tenant. Do not be that disrespectful landlord. The courts will give you no leeway. It's almost like getting a DUI in 2022. You got Uber, you got Lyft, you got no excuses. You're paying the $10,000, you're losing your license, you're getting hit with the DUI. Tough shit. Move on. You got no excuses. And if you're the tenant, do not hesitate to take the landlord to court. You're gonna win. And you might actually see them cry and beg for mercy from the court, which you can't put a price on anyway. So I can't wait to see this guy again, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to see him again, because I'm pretty sure I'm doing a deal with his agent. I can't wait to see him at the closing table. His crybaby cry. But yeah, so that's a tenant landlord horror story. If you have any questions in regards to leaving a property, tenant leaving, landlord taking a property, and the financial exchange, let us know. glattproperties@gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to help you out, and I'd be more than happy to give you. I would never advise anybody. I'm not a lawyer. I cannot advise you, but I can tell you a story or two, and you can take that story, just like this story. There's a couple other ones that I don't want to say over the air, but I could tell you a couple of stories, and you can make your own educated opinion after hearing a story or two. So, with that being said, if you're out there being a tenant, you don't let them push you around. Just don't, because remember, you're paying for something. You're paying for their primary residence. They're paying for their portfolio. You're paying for a floor for another property, X, Y, and Z. So, you have some say. But the last thing that you want to do is hold out on rent if they're not doing what you want to do, because then they can actually take you to court and remove you, and you lose your security deposit, you lose a lot of stuff, whatever. You want to be able to show the judge, look, I did my obligation as a tenant. I paid the rent on time. I paid the bills on time. I was open. Boom, boom, boom. I did everything that I was supposed to do. and they'll probably find the landlord at fault for whatever. And it's all good. It is what it is. So you got to take everything in stride. So stay safe. Enjoy your day. And if you have a horror story for one of your properties or you've heard a horror story, send it in, glattproperties@gmail.com. Stay safe, y'all. Got to get back to work.